to pump that blood. So everything changes around. The left side takes over, the right side gets quiet, and the body begins to produce its own exchange of vital energy with the environment, thanks to the lungs. The lungs bring that spark. The oxygen is the spark. Imagine that you have an engine and you want to get it going, and you need a spark to kick it in. In the mitochondria, in each cell, that spark is given by the oxygen coming in from the world through our lungs. That first inhale starts, and it never stops until the moment on the other side of our life journey, when we exit, when we are born into the other side, or technically when we die, and then we leave with an exhale. So that is the metaphor of our life, everybody. I basically described all this slide functionally just a moment ago. So how can I learn to use breathing to give me energy? Because what we want is, there's a basic thing that is happening without us getting involved, which is the physiology of the body is going to do what it's going to do. We're going to inhale, and then oxygen will go into the blood. Then we're going to pump that blood. All the cells will receive oxygen to some extent. That oxygen will trigger this cascade of sparks in the mitochondria. The mitochondria are our powerhouses, okay? That's where energy is made. Each cell has them. And each mitochondria has its own DNA. And this DNA, the mitochondrial DNA, is not involved in the exchange and crossover with the father or mother at the conception. It's pure, intact. The mitochondrial DNA that you have in every cell of your body has come down exclusively from your mother and from her mother and from all the line of mothers from the beginning of our species back in Africa, perhaps 300,000 years ago. Same mitochondrial DNA. And you know, they've done now an incredible new development in fertility treatments, where before, when let's say a couple cannot conceive and they are doing in vitro fertilization, you basically take a developed egg from the mother and put it together with the sperm in vitro, and there's the conception there, and you implant it, and hopefully it takes over. But often it doesn't, not a very good percentage of success. They've now, what they are making is a extract of the mother's ovary, distilled to the point where they only take out the mitochondria. So you have let's say a couple billion mitochondria in a small substance, and they put that together in the same environment where they are making the egg and the sperm combine. And the mitochondria, because they are the powerhouses, all the development of our body happens thanks to the mitochondria. They provide that energy for it. And the mitochondria can do that when it's given oxygen. The breath is our vitality. In Chinese and Oriental medicine, the concept of qi, of energy, as we understand it, actually means vital air. That is the actual meaning of the word originally. And it's essentially this description that we just described, how to make adenosine triphosphate, which is ATP, the way in which nature at all levels in the planet Earth stores energy. So I describe this so we can be more deliberate. And when we are breathing, it's not just that our diaphragm is moving up and down and so forth. We are bringing vital air into the mitochondria to produce energy. And we can deliberately connect to that process to enhance it and to enhance the experience of it. The mind directs the body in many ways. If we sync our mind to our body, the processes are going to be more efficient, more connected, and the experience of it will be more deliberate. We can, in this way also, for example, recharge our energy with the breath, bringing in an impulse from the sun. So we can recharge our body breathing in the sun. For instance, the morning is the time where energy is rising, right? So you can absolutely sit facing the sun anywhere you are. Close your eyes, feel the warmth of the sun, the energy, the vitality of the sun. And with your inhale, you feel that you're inhaling that energy of the sun into your body. And when you exhale, you feel how that energy spreads everywhere or to a particular weak spot that you have. Let's say you have a part of your body that feels weak and you need to send energy to it. You can, with the breath, inhale the energy of the sun and send it to that area. How? Through the magical act of intention, of guiding perception. And the breath is the vehicle. And in a moment, we're going to do a lot of different explorations of the breath. And essentially, it's for you to get first the relationship, the feeling of the breath, and how we can direct energy with and through the breath. We're going to go through 4 techniques, and Suzanne is going to guide them. She's going to explain the technique, then she's going to have you do it, and then she's going to help you to explore it. And while you explore it, then you get a direct experience, and then we'll get some feedback of it. I might give a frame of it, and then we move on to the second technique, and we'll go through that way. And then at the end of class today, Erin is going to guide us through a set of energy passes to stir the breath, just to really bring everything into the experience of movement. The 4 techniques: the balance of the breath, the essential regulation of our breathing, we will explore that first. Then how to manage stress, the stress response through the breath, how to deliberately modulate our stress using the breath. 3 is the fire breath, the fire energy to ignite the digestive process and help us to bring the essence of food to combine with the vital air and make the actual substrate of energy, which comes from the food. And the number 4 technique is the abstract experience through breathing. Okay, how to use the breath to reach different states of consciousness. So I'm going to introduce you to Justine. Justine is a very, very dear colleague. She was one of the earliest instructors working with us in the movements that we learned from Carlos Castaneda in workshops and classes all over the world. We've known Justine for 20 years. She is a very qualified music therapist, singer, and astrologist. And she recently graduated from a program in NYU in New York City on the Masters of Arts in Music Therapy, and uses breath and sound to work in clinical settings in hospitals in New York with patients to help them work with stress and to wake up healing in their body and to change also their mindsets, right? Using sound and breath. So she's gonna, we're very, very lucky and honored to have Justine join us. And I'm gonna pass on the camera to her. And put the mute, Justine, the sound.
Okay, hello. Hello, everybody. And Miles, thank you so much for that lovely introduction and presentation, and so in-depth understanding of the mechanism and depth of breathing, and also the subtle and energetic aspects of breathing. And I just wanted to comment that as a as you mentioned, as a performer and as a singer, I developed, a deep discipline in breathing, which was focused on supporting the development of the vocal expression and singing. And then through the, let's say, shamanic practices of breathing, I got more in touch with aspects of breath that expand one's perception and enhance one's awareness. And then as a vocal coach, when I was teaching my students, I focused a lot on the power of breath, and not only in the classes as part of the singing technique, but as something to take out into your daily practice, this awareness of breathing patterns. And what I found is that my students started making changes in their lives that went beyond their singing practice. Some of them stopped smoking or got out of a damaging relationship, and it all happened when they started incorporating breathing practices in their day-to-day life. And this eventually led me to exploring and following this path of music therapy and getting my master's and certification in music therapy. And as you said, I use a lot of breathing and sound techniques to help people transition into states of well-being. And what the music therapy program added was a deeper understanding of the physiologic aspects that you've explained so wonderfully, the physiologic aspects that embedded in breathing, and then being able to, like, very consciously support maybe the inhale whenever a patient needs to enhance their arousal or their energy level, and how to focus more on the exhale when we need to activate the parasympathetic to be able to deal with stress or even with trauma. And also, through my music therapy practice, it's helped me also like to create a systematic approach to breathing. And this brings me then to the 4 breaths we're going to dive into today. And as I just mentioned, a big, let's say, guiding point is being aware of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, and being able to activate one or the other or find balance, which is our first breath,